My brain is just kind of going back and forth on whether I love or hate this song. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I'm going to be listening to the album Korn III Remember Who You Are by the band Korn. Now this is Korn's 9th studio album. They released this one in 2010, so we're slowly making our way through Korn's discography. The last Korn album that I did a reaction to was their Untitled album, which was kind of strange. It was a little bit of a weird direction for them to go in. Definitely really modern and futuristic with its sound, with a lot of electronic touches to it. And I'm really curious to see if this album, Korn III, is gonna kind of continue on in that electronic direction. I am very curious to find out. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive right on into my reaction to Korn III Remember Who You Are. Okay, so we're all ready to go. I feel like it's been a minute since I've heard a new Korn album, so I'm really excited for this one. So starting off with track 1, we have Uber Time. It's like really faint talking. Kind of sounds like they're talking about a spaceship or something. Okay, now there's like some weird plucky sounding guitar, I think that is. Okay, and then that track just flowed right into the second one, so I'm going to pause it for a minute. That was track 1, Uber Time, a really weird, very ambient start to this one. There was like a really faint talking going on and some kind of like unsettling, very minimalistic instrumentation too with that plucky guitar. It was kind of like a build up into track 2 almost. So I'm just going to continue on with track 2, which is called Oildale, Leave Me Alone. There's something very empty about the sound of this track. I don't know, I'm so used to Korn having all of these really like strange, quirky instrumentations going on, and this song is just lacking that. It has a very like hollow, echoey sound to it. I take this shit, all I I do love that little scream he does on the chorus. Yeah, there's almost like a fuzziness to this song at parts. I don't know, it just has kind of this very slight staticky element to it. That was a very abrupt ending. And now we've got that really ominous, minimalistic instrumentation coming back, kind of like how the first track started. Well, that was track 2, Oildale, Leave Me Alone. There were elements of that song I really loved. I would say his vocals were the standout for sure. I loved the intensity of his voice on the chorus. And that song had a cool atmosphere too. It kind of sounded like you were in outer space. It had that quality to it. But it was definitely lacking some of the instrumentation that I love from Korn's earlier stuff. I was definitely wanting more of that kind of quirky sound, and I wasn't really getting a whole lot of that. Moving on to track 3, we have Pop a Pill. Well, look at this. I see clearly now. Was that a gong? Okay, this one definitely has some funkiness going on. Some very quirky sounds they're throwing in. Look at this. People are ugly now. I can't live without you today. Yeah, I mentioned how the last track sounded kind of hollow. I'd say this one is definitely bringing more of a weightiness to its sound. There's a little bit more of an explosive energy to the instrumentals. I don't care about anything.
crawl on me.
Okay, so we have a little classic Korn switch up here. I can always appreciate that. Well, that was track 3, Pop a Pill. Kind of an interesting little ending there. It sounded like some distorted, like electronic sounds of people talking. That one definitely had some very odd sound effects they were throwing in, which I appreciate. I kind of like when Korn does their quirky, weird sounds. And lyrically, definitely getting into addiction, like relying on a substance to numb out the way that you're currently feeling or the voices in your head. I know that's been a theme on previous Korn albums too, and it's still clearly a theme that they're bringing into their music on this one. But moving on to track 4, we have Fear is a Place to Live. It's kind of an echoiness there to the vocals. There's that awesome growly vocal from him. That was track 4, Fear is a Place to Live. I really enjoyed the ambient nature of that one. It had a very echoey, kind of atmospheric quality to it, and there's kind of a minimalistic quality to this album. I don't know, there's like a lack of instrumentation almost. I am really enjoying his vocals though. That track had some great growly deliveries from Jonathan Davis. There's definitely a lot of intensity coming out in his voice, which I'm enjoying. But up next is track 5, which is called Move On. I actually kind of enjoy how minimalistic this album is. I think maybe it's growing on me a little bit. Yeah, is it just me, or is there like a didgeridoo sound going on in the background on the chorus? It's giving this track a really unique touch. I really am enjoying it. That was track 5, Moving On. That's definitely my favorite on this album so far. I actually really enjoyed that track. It had just this very unique quality to the sound of it. I've never really heard Korn sounding like that before. It reminded me of Sepultura a tiny little bit, just almost like a tribal element to the instrumentals. I also loved the percussion on that one, just kind of a bit of a heavier, more pounding quality to it. And then of course, Jonathan Davis's vocals just had that blistering delivery, which I really liked. So moving on to track 6, we have Lead the Parade. Okay, this sounds like a Korn song right off the start. Okay, now it doesn't sound so much like a Korn song. My brain is just kind of going back and forth on whether I love or hate this song. It started off, the instrumentals were so quirky sounding, like a normal Korn song that I'm used to. And then there's kind of like a strange vocal delivery for Korn on the verses that I don't know if I really love. But then that blistering intensity comes back on the verse, and it's awesome. I don't know what to make of this song. I really don't. Just when I thought that track couldn't get any stranger, we had that ending to it. But that was track 6, Lead the Parade. My brain is still processing that one. I have no clue if I liked that song or not. It's really weird. There's definitely an atmospheric quality that they're really embracing on this album that I do love. But then there were parts of that song where his vocal delivery to me, I really was not a fan of. I don't know, it was very Korn-like, if that makes sense. But I'm just going to move on to track 7, which is called Let the Guilt Go. I loved his vocal delivery just there on those few lines where he was talking about like the anger and the guilt. Yeah, see how they're doing that atmospheric thing with the echoey quality? They've definitely been doing that on the past few albums leading up to Korn 3.
I'm such a stupid fuck. Listening to my head and not my gut. And thinking I'm
Yeah, there's kind of a smoothness to this song. Like, I'm used to Korn kind of bringing more of a jarring quality to their music with all of the change-ups and crazy instrumentals going on. And this album is kind of staying a little bit more smooth, I guess you could say. Track 7, Let the Guilt Go. Another pretty strange one for Korn's discography. I did enjoy his vocals though on that one. Man, they just brought a lot of that intensity, which I love. Almost a sort of jazziness to that one too, like a very subtle jazz influence on that really quiet, restrained bridge there. Again, just kind of a fusion of stuff that some of it I like and some I'm not as much of a fan of, but it's definitely entertaining, that's for sure. All right, up next is track 8, which is called The Past. Those are some strange effects they've got going on. That sound right there just was kind of reminiscent to me of 9 Inch Nails. And I think a couple of you mentioned on my Korn Untitled reaction that Atticus Ross produced the Untitled album. And now I'm wondering if maybe he helped produce this one too. Again, I'm loving the ambience of this album. That was track 8, The Past. A great ambience to that one and a really big echoey sound. I'm finding this album really interesting in that even though there's qualities about it I'm not necessarily loving, at least right now, it's really interesting to listen to. I'm fascinated by the sound of this album, but I'm going to continue on with track 9, which is called Never Around. It's like this weird kind of industrial screeching noise, a little bit. We've got that kind of staticky quality back on this track, sort of a fuzziness to its sound. Some strange ambient vocalization going on. Now there's like a country twang to this one weirdly, with the whistling and everything. that was track 9, Never Around. Again, another very ambient ending to that one. On that track, I've got to admit, I kind of found the choruses to be a bit repetitive, but they were definitely doing some interesting stuff on the verses and the more restrained parts of that song. Again, just very weird, but kind of oddly enjoyable at the same time. All right, moving on to track 10, we have Are You Ready to Live? What are those background noises?
On me. It's unbelievable to see. Let me tell you something. The shit is beaming.
Again, like that springy effect. It's just so weird. Okay, that part was kind of strange. All of those like screaming kind of guttural background vocals going on.
I'm always testing the shit around me. Are you ready to die? To escape?
That was track 10, Are You Ready to Live? I was having a lot of fun with all of the effects they were putting on that one in the background. There's definitely still some very subtle electronic elements to this album. I think though they're maybe moving away from that a little bit. I think the previous album, Untitled, had more of that electronic nature to its sound, and this album, I'm not really picking up on that as much. But I'm going to move on to the final track on Korn 3, which is called Holding All These Lies. Okay, that one actually just reminded me a little bit of Dig by Mudvayne at the beginning there.
Holding all the lies I told you. This is the time for truth and pain. I believe.
Yeah, see how they throw on that like staticky element just a tiny little bit from time to time?
Holding all these lies I told you. To this pain.
I love his vocals here at the end. They're bringing so much intensity. That was track 11, Holding All These Lies, the final song on Korn 3. I will be honest, the first half of that track, again, I kind of found it to be a little bit repetitive with its sound. I wasn't really getting into it, but then the second half, they definitely brought a lot more power to that, more of an impact. I loved his vocals there at the very end. And then with all of the quirky, subtle sounds too that they kept throwing in, it was just really interesting to listen to at the second half of that song. But yeah, this album is definitely ending in true fashion of my overall thoughts on it. Just kind of a track that has some elements that I really loved and some elements that they didn't quite sit right with me personally. All right, well that is going to complete my reaction to Korn 3, Remember Who You Are, the 9th studio album from the band Korn. I don't really know exactly what to make of this album, if I'm being completely honest. I'm kind of sitting here a bit perplexed how to kind of articulate my thoughts on it. Very entertaining though, and there were elements of it that I really enjoyed, kind of the atmospheric nature to it. His vocal delivery was really impressive to me. There is something just lacking about the last couple of Korn albums I've heard though, that they had this amazing quirkiness, a unique sound on their first few albums, and I've been missing it on the last couple of Korn records. So I'm hoping, continuing on with their discography, they kind of come to merge that sound that I'm missing with this kind of new modern atmospheric element, because I love the atmospheric parts of this album. I would say my favorite song right now on Korn 3 is probably track 5, Move On. Some really cool instrumentation with that one. But yeah, I am super interested, to say the least, in hearing where Korn is going to take their sound from this one. So up next is going to be their 10th studio album, Path of Totality. I am very intrigued to check that one out. But yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.